Congratulations on purchasing your Rambo bike. This video will show you how to properly install your extra large rear rack and your brake light to your Rambo bike. Start by removing the top two bolts on the back of the rear frame with a 5mm Allen wrench and the bottom two bolts holding the rear fender to the frame with a 4mm Allen wrench. Then slide the rear rack into place behind the tire as shown, and then reattaching the two bolts at the bottom of the frame, making sure to slide the bolts through both the rear rack and the rear fender into the frame. The rear rack comes included with two sets of attachable arms. Be sure to use the two shorter arms for attaching the rear rack to the frame. You can now attach both the arms to the top of the rear rack with the provided M6 by 20mm bolts and washers, and tighten them all the way down with a 5mm Allen wrench and a 10mm open-ended wrench. Then rotate the rear rack forward in place and reattach the bolts that you removed earlier from the top of the frame. You can then tighten them down with a 5mm Allen wrench. Once attached, you'll want to make sure that the rear rack is horizontally straight and level with the rest of the bike. If it appears too far forward or too far back, you may need to remove the bolts and reposition the arms on the front of the rack. Next, we will attach the brake light to the taillight bracket. To do so, remove the nuts and washers from behind the brake light and insert the brake light into the taillight bracket. You can then reattach the washers and nuts and tighten them down with an 8mm open-ended wrench. The taillight should look like so when finished. Now you can attach the brake light to the rear rack. You can do so using the provided M6 by 12mm bolt and washer. You can tighten it all the way down with a 5mm Allen wrench and a 10mm open-ended wrench. Next, you'll need to connect the brake light cord to the brake light. To do so, you'll need to start by removing the lower cover plate at the bottom of the frame. You can do this using a T25 Torx wrench. Once you have the cover plate removed, you can take out all the cords on the inside and find the red brake light cord. Undo the whole cord and then feed it through the hole at the bottom of the frame. Then, as shown, you'll want to run the cord underneath the rear frame and behind the rear rack up to the brake light. You can then connect the two cords by aligning the arrows and then pushing them together. Once connected, you can start adding zip ties down the rear rack and the frame. Leaving a little slack, the first zip tie should be applied to the top of the rear rack on the left. Once tightened, you can cut off the excess zip tie. Continue adding zip ties down the rear rack and the frame as shown, until the cord feels good and secure to your Rambo bike. The final step is to reinsert all the cords at the bottom into the frame and then reattaching the bolts and cover plate. You can tighten them all the way down with a T25 Torx wrench. You have now successfully installed your rear rack and brake light. Before you head out, we highly encourage you to watch our quick before you ride video. This will help show you how to properly set up and operate your bike before your first ride. Congratulations again on purchasing your Rambo bike.